Welcome again to Joe Stein Boxing. I hope you're having a good Saturday. A few months ago, when Anthony Joshua got splattered all over the ring by Daniel Dubois, people were saying, is it time for him to retire? Should he retire? What's next for him? Has he got time to rebuild because of his age? And now we've had TYSON FURY defeated twice on the bounce by Alexander Usyk. So there's been an awful lot of talk. Let's put these two together, for the, I don't know what you'd call it, consolation prize maybe. I mean, they could make a lot of money theoretically, but as soon as Fury was beaten by Usyk a second time, Hearn straight away, you got to match him with AJ. There's still a ton of money to be made and blah blah blah. And because Hearn is a money man, it's all about money with promoters, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's the bottom line. But I do wonder, even though that's the presumption, put these two together, I have to wonder whether this is at the moment a viable fight, because, look, losing twice to Usyk is not a tragedy. I mean, I thought Fury actually boxed very well in the second fight, even though I definitely thought he lost. And he showed, plenty of guts by the bucket, which we knew he had anyway in the first fight. But losing twice to Usyk, which of course, twice on points, which AJ himself has suffered, I don't think there's any shame in that. I really don't. I think Usyk's by far, maybe not by far, but he certainly has proven himself to be the best of his era, obviously at cruiserweight and also now heavyweight. And Fury, you moved down a few pegs, I suppose, because of those two defeats, but he's still up there. He's still a very, very good heavyweight. And not someone you'd bet against most opponents in the world, if not almost all of them. With Joshua, it's a very different thing, though. With Joshua, the manner of his defeat against Dubois was so conclusive and so, almost career-ending, or at least at world level. I don't think they can put them together now, yet. I think there's going to have to be not so much a rebuilding process for Fury, although I would certainly think it's advisable, even at his age, to maybe have a little 10-rounder, maybe just to sort of keep himself fit, because we know what he's like when he doesn't have a fight scheduled. He says he goes to the gym every day, but he also eats like a fucking horse and drinks like a fish. So perhaps, now that Christmas is out of the way, getting back in the gym for a 10-rounder, he will say, I don't need any 10-rounders. Okay, fair enough. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't need a 10-rounder. Maybe he can go straight into another major fight. I mean, I get that argument, and I think that argument definitely holds water. In Fury's case, I'm just thinking of keeping him busy so that mentally he's, on an even keel. For Joshua, though, it's very, very different. Very different. I mean, would the casuals themselves, the majority of people that would buy this fight, Fury versus AJ, at the moment would be casuals. And of course, the rest of us who are hardcore boxing fans, we'll take a look. We have a vague interest. But to me, it's past its sell-by date. Now, that's not to say it can't be a good fight, because if you remember the Brooke Khan event, they were both, knocking on retirement's door, obviously. But you put two guys who are way, way past their best, even two shot fighters. I thought Khan was completely shot when he fought Brooke. Brooke was very much on the downside of his career as well. And he won the fight by stoppage. But it was relatively entertaining and people bought it. It was financially viable and so on. So it's not that these two guys can't still produce a good fight. I just wonder whether, unless AJ comes back and scores at the very least one convincing win, preferably two, preferably 2025, at least for the first. So is he coming back in May? Like May, June, July, August, maybe sort of May and September, or May and August, have two fights against top 10, top 15 fighters to try to re-establish himself. Only then, I think, will this fight take on, will it sort of garner a lot of its lost luster? Because it is seen as being, yesterday's milk, you know what I mean? It's a shame they didn't fight when they were both undefeated, or when there was talk about them fighting. Instead, Fury fought the third Wilder fight and so on. But at the moment, I don't think they can do it. Well, they could do it, but they might make a bit of money. But if they want to maximise the earning potential, people have got to believe that both men have a chance of winning. And after the performance against Dubois, do you think Joshua, where do you think his confidence is? Where do you think his self-esteem is? When he gets in that ring, do you think he's going to have maximum belief that he can beat Tyson Fury? No, he's got to rebuild. And I know he's not no spring chicken, neither is Fury. But I think in terms of, although I never rated Joshua as highly as Fury as a fighter, I think he's a better man, but I didn't rate him as highly as a fighter ever. I always thought Fury had the beating of Joshua if you put them both at their, optimum weights and, perfect preparation mentally and physically. I always thought Fury had the advantage over Joshua. But it's up to Joshua to convince the public that defeat to Dubois was an aberration. And of course, if he was to rematch Dubois and maybe pick up that IBF title, then it puts a different complexion on everything. If he was to beat Dubois, he could then turn around and say, well, I just had a really bad day at the office and it was really, really bad, but these things happen. Kind of like the first Ruiz fight. Now, he never quite put that first Ruiz fight to bed, did he? Because there were always elements of, you felt that he was a little bit reticent, almost gun-shy at times. But he kind of gradually, certainly after the two Usyk fights, he seemed to just be so frustrated, and he had that meltdown in the ring, which I think is very, very symbolic and very, very revealing, obviously, very revealing as to where his mind was at. But I think that carried over for some months afterwards, probably for two fights afterwards. God knows what he'll have to do to put the whole Dubois debacle to bed. Fury is, I think, mentally, although I think Joshua is quite mentally tough, but to get in the ring in a stadium and fight another man, you've got to have some mental toughness. It's all relative. But I think Fury is the type of guy who really can control his doubts, his fears. And even if he's blagging his way through them, like he did in the first Usyk fight with all that stupid showboating, I think he can eventually come back. He can eventually stabilise himself in the ring. I'm talking of not outside the ring, but in the ring. And he has very good recuperative powers. Don't forget, I mean, he got smashed up in that 9th round of the first fight with Usyk, but he got up and he finished those last 3 rounds. In fact, he didn't look too bad in the final round. If it had been an old 15-rounder, it would have been a very curious watch. So Fury is not so much the issue for this fight, but Joshua definitely is. I don't think they can put Joshua in with Fury at the moment, even though it would be an absolute cash-out fight, a total cash-out. And I think, again, at the risk of repeating myself, which I'm about to do, I think AJ needs a couple of wins against top 12, top 15 fighters. And he needs to look good doing it. And ideally, he needs to rematch Dubois first and beat him. If he was to do that, yes, a lot of the lost allure of that Fury fight would be regained. Not all of it, because both men have now got defeats on their record, and Joshua's been knocked out twice now. He's got 4 defeats on his record. Fury's got 2, but they're to Usyk. Two of AJ's are to Usyk. Usyk clearly is the last man standing. But, there can only be one man standing on top of the mountain. Doesn't mean the ones just below him are useless. And it certainly doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of entertainment to be had in the heavyweight division not involving Alexander Usyk. A lot of people have said they admire Usyk, but they don't find him the most exciting heavyweight. Okay, I can understand that. I mean, I love Usyk. I think he's a brilliant, brilliant fighter. But entertainment-wise, there's plenty more fun to be had, plenty more excitement to be had in the heavyweight division. But in terms of Fury versus AJ, they've got to rebuild AJ. They can't just put him in there now. I don't think people would buy it. It might probably make money because he's a name, and people would watch it out of curiosity. But how many people would give AJ a chance of winning that fight against Fury? Not many. They've got to rebuild this this sort of lost fight, if you like, that slipped through the net for whatever reason. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. What do you think? Do you think this is this past its sell-by date? Do you care anymore about AJ versus Fury? I've lost interest, to be honest with you, unless AJ comes back and wins a couple of fights. And even then, like I say, I don't think it will have the great appeal that it once had. But, you know, let me know what you think. What has to be done to resurrect this fight, the idea of this fight? Comments below. And yeah, you know, I always say this, but subscribe to the channel if you're new, because you're helping the channel out a great deal. Thank you for your time. I always appreciate it. And if you did enjoy this video and you can hit the like button, that'd be a nice little Brucey bonus. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm looking forward to reading what you've got to say. As always, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and bye for now.